So I have done a lot of save idea videos over the past 5 years, but most of them have been about clubs that I've already heard of or already knew something about. So I thought I'd do something very different today. I'm going to spin this wheel, and every league and every team in FIFA is now eligible to get a save idea from me. I'm going to come up with one totally out of the blue, and it could be a super obscure team from Poland, or it could be Manchester United from the Premier League. I have no idea what we're going to talk about today. So let's start off by spinning this, and we're going to spin it at least 3 times, probably 4, and I'm going to show you how to come up with your own fun save ideas for any save on the game. It doesn't matter where a club is from, I can promise that you will be able to enjoy them. So we started off with Argentina, a league that I haven't covered too much on this channel, and some of these clubs are actually really fun. There's a lot of history, and of course you have access to the Libertadores. The club we're going to look at is Newell's Old Boys, and I do actually know a few things about them, so it should be easy to come up with a good save idea. Let's start off by looking at some of the things we do know. They produced Lionel Messi before he went to Barcelona, they have access to the Libertadores, they have a national team in the game, and they're not the highest rated team in their division. That's probably going to be River Plate or Boca. So you can probably already piece together the idea we're going to come up with. They have a good academy, they have a national team, and they still need to improve as a club. The next thing we need to do is have a look at their history, see what they've done in the past, and see what they could be in the future. And to do that, we need to switch over to looking at Google. You won't believe how easy it is to actually find interesting facts just by typing in your team name and then interesting facts. For example, Newell's Old Boys have won the Primera Division 6 times and the National Cup 3 times, and have also gone on to produce players like Lionel Messi, who have played at the World Cup. So already, that's 2 of the things that we've said earlier proven as absolutely true. But if you didn't know anything about Newell's Old Boys, then you would find it out super easily there. You can see they also play at the Estadio Marcelo Bielsa, which, if we check, is actually named after Marcelo Bielsa, the former Leeds United, Chile, Marseille, Lazio and Lille manager, who of course has a reputation playing some pretty crazy tactics. As an academy, they've produced Batistuta, Banega, Samuel, Gallego, Valdano, Heinze Sensisi, Pochettino, Scaloni, Rodriguez and Messi. So this is another really good way of implementing this into your save. You could manage as someone like Pochettino. He played 153 times for Newell's Old Boys and never went on to be a manager from them, while his hero and former manager, Marcelo Bielsa, went on to become a bit of a legend. So there you have it, that could be a save, an academy-focused save using Marcelo Bielsa or Pochettino, where you try and win another league title. Maybe try and get a few of your players into the Argentinian national team, because look how Argentinian this squad is, and that is your save idea totally finished. It's super easy, and you can do this for basically any save you want. Okay, so if you don't believe me, let's spin this wheel and see what we can come up with. See if we can find an interesting team that I don't know anything about. So it looks like we're gonna go into the Barclays Women's Premier League. We talked about the Premier League earlier, but we've never actually managed in the Barclays Women's Super League, and I only know a small amount about some of the bigger teams. So let's fill out my other wheel with some of the teams from this league and see who we're gonna talk about. Okay, so West Ham United are the last team we're gonna add, and let's spin this wheel. So there's some big teams in here. Of course, the men's teams are huge, and we're gonna get Crystal Palace. Okay, I was thinking it was gonna be Chelsea there for a minute. So let's have a look at the Crystal Palace ladies team. And if we do the exact same thing, trying to look through their Wikipedia page for some interesting information, then we might be able to find some cool facts. So they actually finished this season last in the Women's Championship, the Barclays Women's Premier League. They were the worst team in it, and they have been relegated. They play at the same stadium as Bromley FC, which could be a good link if you want to go into the men's team, so you can win the Barclays Premier League with the Crystal Palace women's team and then move to Bromley FC in League 2 and then do a road to glory. You could do like a 2-part series there where you start out and you go up the leagues. If we look at their squad, it's sort of all over the place. There's a few English players, there's some players from Scotland, Wales, Ireland, Finland, Denmark, New Zealand. So there's not really a common theme there that we can base our signings on. And it doesn't seem like really they've ever done too much. They were actually the Women's Championship, which is the 2nd Division champions the year before. So it's not that big of a surprise they got relegated. And they've never really won anything themselves. To be fair, this is also quite an interesting fact. In 2019, they played against a team of male former professional footballers and lost the match 1-0. So that's a little bit of a link there if you do want to go into the men's game, because Crystal Palace have actually interacted with the men's game themselves. Even better, the manager is a vacant position at the minute, so you're not taking over from anyone, and that could be your save. You're just a small nobody, maybe a former coach that goes into Crystal Palace women's teams to prove yourself. You manage to save them from relegation, because of course you can't get relegated inside FIFA in this division, and then you build them up and then move over to Bromley FC, build them up and become one of the best managers in the men's game as well. That is an absolutely amazing storyline, and one that I think would be quite fun to do. So for the third time, let's find another save idea. Hopefully you're sort of getting the idea what I'm doing with this video. I'm trying to show you how you can create any save idea. You can make an interesting save out of any team on the game. So the Swedish Allsvenskan is our next destination, and we're going to need to put those teams into the other wheel. So this time we have 16 teams to pick from, some big names in there like AIK and Göteborg and Kalmar, and some smaller ones like Dice and Halmstad's BK, who it looks like we're going to land on. I know absolutely nothing about these teams. I don't know what their badge looks like, I don't know what their kits look like, and I know nothing about their history. They've won 4 championship titles and 1 national cup title, and they are a fan-owned club, which is absolutely great to see. So maybe that could be your goal. The fan-owned club wants you to build a team of locally born players and try and win another title. It looks like they were successful in the mid-50s, in the mid-70s, in the mid-90s, and then they didn't really have a spell in the mid-2010s. But it looks like in real life they're doing all right this season. They've lost more than they've won, but they are potentially going to be safe from relegation, so that makes me think they're not the best team in the world. If we go into their Geografifa page, we can have a quick look at their squad, and again, it doesn't seem like it's that good. In the Allsvenskan, they are one of the worst teams. Västerås is awful, but Halmstad is the second worst team in that division. So there we go, the fan-owned club wants to build the team up with locally born academy players and try and get into Europe. So yeah, I don't think they ever have actually made it into Europe because they've never really won too much. The top scorer in the Allsvenskan has just 77 goals. You could probably do that in 2 or 3 seasons if you get a good academy player. And that should be quite a fun little save. An academy player breaks the goal scoring record, you win the Allsvenskan and play in Europe for the first time. And that is how I would recommend you play with Halmstad. So I'm having quite a lot of fun doing this, so for the last time, let's actually spin the wheel one more time. See what we can get and see if we can come up with a very unique save idea for our club in the Norwegian Elite Serie, and I think we were so close to getting Sweden twice in a row. Okay, they're all loaded in, and again, there's some big names in here like Molde and Tromsø, Viking. But Tromsø is one that I know one interesting fact about. It is the most northern team inside career mode. If we look on Google Maps, they are on this little island right here, and they are so far north. They're more north than majority of Russia. Only tiny bits of Canada is more south than them. A whole country of Iceland is more south than them. Finland, Denmark, Scotland is miles more south of them. So these are a very isolated team all the way up in the north of Norway. But there has to be some interesting facts about Tromsø IL that we can look at. So they have competed in several UEFA competitions, the Cup Winners' Cup, the Intertoto Cup and the Europa League, and they didn't have such a good season last year. So again, there it is, an easy storyline save idea where you try and get Tromsø to play back in Europe yet again. They have only ever been runners-up in the Elite Serie as well, which was in 1990 and 2011, so you could try and win their first Norway title, which would be absolutely crazy for a team from so north in Norway. Of course, this is not actually that unrealistic because if we have a look at the other Norwegian teams, Bodo Glimt aren't actually that much more southern. So if we look at Bodo on Google Maps, we can see, yeah, they're also from quite north in Norway, and they have managed to make an absolute dynasty in the league at the minute. They are unbelievable. They are by far the best team in that division, and there is a reason that they are that good. Whereas Tromsø are pretty mid-table, probably towards the bottom here. You can see 63 overall on average, whereas Bodo Glimt are 69 overall. Of course, they are also rivals as well, so that's another cool storyline. And this is how easy it is to basically make every single save inside FIFA unique with a cool storyline. You don't have to always be trying to rebuild Manchester United. You can sometimes rebuild Tromsø because they've never managed to win the league. You could try and rebuild a team from the women's divisions and move across, or you could just go for one of those big teams but do something a bit more unique to their history. hopefully you've enjoyed this video, because this is basically how I make my videos. I do it a little bit more in depth, of course, because I've just been doing it live in this one. But when I write my scripts or I write my bullet points that I read through, all I'm doing is searching to try and find interesting things and linking it into the football teams. But hopefully, you've enjoyed finding out how that works. And if you want to give this a go, leave your suggestions in the comments for teams that you've done this with and found something interesting about, because it's always so cool to learn more about new football teams. But until then, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Cheers and goodbye.